Hey there, my Tyler Perry Sister fans. It's your girl Barbie J here, and we are talking about Sistas Season 4, Episode 19, Benefit of the Doubt. And we know what that title means. That's what Fatima said about Jake at the beginning. She told Zach, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because Fatima just don't trust nobody. At least that's what Zach said. But before we get started, I just want to let y'all know if y'all hear a lot of air in the background, I have a couple of fans blowing and the AC was on, but I cut it off because it's hot in here. So please forgive me with all that noise in the background if you can hear it. Anyhow, so let's jump right into this. So Fatima and Zach pull up, to the house, and Jake is there waiting, and he tells Zach that he paid the contractor for him, and Zach is like, you didn't have to do that, but he told him, you can pay me back later. Fatima just seems to be so skeptical about Jake, and Zach says he's a good dude, but he said, you don't trust anybody. She's like, well, and so Zach shows her the place and then gives her a set of keys. And they sit down and they have that talk about moving in together, and because she keeps saying it's a big step, and he reminds her that you said you went to jail for me, and you said you would do it again. He said, but moving in together is too much. And I said, he got a point there with that, So she mentioned, something about being able to have her own space from him, and Zach wants her to, sell her place. She said if she moved in, she was gonna keep her place, but he want her to sell it, but she could make money off it. Like I said, she could rent it out or sublet it, whatever, and get income and have income coming in from that. But anyway, so she mentioned being able to have her own space, and he want her to sell her place, even though she said she wanted to hold on to it. And she's like, if you F up. And he said, I won't. I saw what happens to people like who mess with you like haters. So he said, I ain't that guy. So anyway, I think her whole issue with Jake, Fatima's whole issue with Jake has to do with the fact that he works with Gary. I think that's all it has to do with. So now we have Hayden. He walks into Andy's office to tell her she's wrong for not telling the police that Zach assaulted him. And she's like, get out of my office. She's trying to get him out. And he's like, I'm not even in your office. I'm like, I'm in the hallway. And she's like, dude, if you don't leave me alone. He goes, so your man is running this place now. Oh, should I say your friend? And then he's like, I know he helped you get Zach out of jail. And she tells him to stop sticking his nose in other people's business. And he mentions the restraining order on Fatima. And she tells him that all Fatima has to do is get a lawyer and file a claim for hostile work environment, and then a bullying claim against you. And he's like, but I didn't do nothing. She said, yeah, because you have been harassing her ever since you know she been dating Zach. Now get the F out of my office. I said, oh, Andy was pissed. But she said what she had to say, and she did what she had to do. Anyway, then we got Preston. He goes to the bank. I don't know why he did this, but he went to the bank to talk to Sabrina about Danny. Maurice is checking him out like, ooh, who this white boy, So they go into her office, and he tells her that he got some bad advice, and now he thinks Danny is over him. I was very upset about that because I feel that Preston just basically threw Zach under the bus. He threw him under the bus. Zach was trying to help him in a way he knew how to help him. And now he's like, I got bad advice. Okay. Anyway, that's my 2 cents about that. So she asks him, what did he do? Sabrina's like, what did you do? And he explained. And she tells him that Danny really likes him and that he should call her. And I'm like, he should have said, I tried to talk to her before. Because she's telling him to do something that he already tried, but Danny wasn't trying to hear him. So he apologizes for bothering her, and then he leaves, but not without Maurice being in the damn doorway of Sabrina's office, acting like a fool, bending over so Preston's body would brush up against his behind and all this stuff. And Sabrina's like pushing him, telling him to go his butt back to work. But then he comes into the office, and she tells her, Lord help me, she tells Maurice that Preston is Danny's friend and to get back to work. So then you know what she does. She calls Karen to make a hair appointment, and then she calls Danny to let her know that Preston was at the bank. So then they both are talking, and they realize that they both have a date the same night, that night at the Olive. So they made plans to possibly, like, what is it called? Double date. I guess that's what they're gonna do, double date. But then Danny was acting like, possibly, if things work out right, like they wouldn't. Anyhow, Fatima's in Zach's house cooking, and Zach mentions he's going to rent out the unit next to his. We all knew that already. That was his dream. And then they talk about his stock and how it's up 30% and how he should sell it. And so he says he'll call Jake in the morning. And like I said, Fatima's apprehensive about Jake and why Zach trusts him so much. And so Zach told her why. But I like I said before, the whole issue is that he works with Gary. That's all I think it is. So Zach wants her to stay, but she wants to go home and and sleep in her own bed. But she goes home she says she'll go home and get some clothes and for work and come back. So next thing you know, Zach is calling Jake to come by and get his check he owes him. And Jake said he was chilling with his girl. This part is so funny because he said he was chilling with his girl. And then he said he'll come right over and get it. When he did show up, he had on a shirt and tie. And I'm like, was he chilling with his girl with the shirt and tie on? Even Zach said something when he got to the house. But one thing Zach said that I feel the same way about. I'm that same way. He wanted to hurry up and pay homeboy. He said, because I don't want nobody saying I owe them no money. And that's just how I am. Anyhow, then we got Andy. Andy shows up at Danny's apartment to talk. But Danny gets stuff off her chest about Preston and stuff. And which some of it I really did not agree with. I have to go in details about that later on. But I didn't agree with some of the stuff she was saying about, Preston. It wasn't cool if you ask me. So, Andy said, all Andy said was at least he's trying. That's all her advice was really weak. She could have came better than that, I felt. But then Danny says, so you're here to talk about Scary Gary? And she was like, what? I can't come to see you. And she's like, girl, please. Because Andy had the nerve to try to get a little offended about that. But Danny said, you haven't been in my house in a while anyway. And if it wasn't about Gary, then you would have went to be talking to Karen right now. And Andy had to admit, you're right. I was like, okay, and be honest, that's right. So she tells Danny that she really likes Robin, but while she was driving over to Danny's in the Rolls Royce, Danny said, which I haven't been in yet, she said she was thinking about Gary in the penthouse and all the things that he's doing and stuff. And Danny said, and you still love him? And Andy said that she wants to just call him and maybe have dinner with him to see if things have changed. And Danny reminds her that they have been over all of this before. She doesn't know, what do you want me to say that's any different? And Andy agrees there's nothing that Danny could say that's different. So she gets up to leave, and Danny said, now you're going to go call Gary, right? And she was like, acting like she wasn't. And then as she left, Danny was imitating Gary. Hey, Andy, can I come over? Hey, Andy, can I get over? Can we do something? Hey, Andy. Andy closed the door and threw a kiss at her. But it was funny how she was imitating him, because that's just what he would do. Then it switched over to Sabrina. She shows up at Karen's salon to get her hair done for her date, and they talk. But did anyone else notice that Karen slipped and said to Sabrina, don't be bringing up Kevin. Go out and have a good time. Isn't Kevin Calvin's real name? Isn't it? Is that his real name in real life? Calvin's real name is Kevin something, right? No, I stand corrected. Kevin is Aaron's real name in real life. His name is Kevin Walton or something like that, right? Kevin something. Yeah, it's that's Aaron's name, but they slipped on that one. But anyway, so Sabrina asked Karen how she's doing with all that's going on with Zach and stuff, and Karen gave her that look and said, Brina, like, don't start. But then she changes it, asked, well, are you going to see Aaron? And Karen says, probably, but then admits that she feels like she's using him. And I'm like, if you're using him, then, stop using him. She then says how Zach behaves and he gets mad at her. She knows how Zach behaves. He gets mad at her and goes out and sleeps around, and then he gets tired of them and comes back to her. I'm like, oh, here go delusional Karen. And then Sabrina says, well, is that something you deserve? And Karen's answer, which I thought was ridiculous, was like, what I do know is I just want him to grow up. Now, how you don't know that that's not good for you? You want him to grow the hell up. But you don't think that's not good for you? You don't think you deserve a man who's better than that if that's what he does? I didn't like her answer for that. Y'all let me know down in the comment section how y'all felt about that. Then she said she's confused. She told Sabrina she was confused. And Sabrina goes with it could be the hormones. And, she gets upset every time somebody says something about the hormones. But Sabrina also says she should listen to Danny about not having to make decisions right away, which is correct, and she agreed. Then it switches over to Gary and Aaron, and they're talking in his office, and he's talking about he wants his money and his penthouse and his car back. Those gifts were for us. And Aaron tells him he shouldn't give people things if he don't want them to have it, because soon as you give it to them, it's theirs to do whatever they want with it. And he's right. So Gary keeps looking over towards the window, and he's getting upset, and Aaron tells him to stop torturing himself like that. And he's like, what? It's not like I could do anything. You took my telescope. And Aaron's like, and I'm sure you could afford to get another one. Like, really? So he's trying to basically get Gary to think about how he's behaving, how he's reacting, to calm himself down. And he's trying to work with him, and Gary starts getting really little belligerent, I feel like, with him as well, telling him to shut up when the phone rang and it was Andy, and he's like all excited and all this stuff, and she gonna say something to piss me off, and he's just getting crazy, and Aaron's like, calm down, Gary. So Gary is still pissed off, but he calms himself down enough to answer the phone, and Andy's asking him, what's he doing, and she wants him to come over to see him. Is he to talk? Come to the penthouse and talk, and he's like smiling and cheesing and everything. But let me just correct that. She said she wants him to come over to that incredible penthouse he bought her. And so when he hangs up, he's like, I don't know why I was even worried. Like, she has to like me and stuff. And Aaron is asking him to stop drinking because Gary's talking about going over there to meet her, and he's concerned. He's like, you sure you can handle that and go over there and talk to her like it's nothing? And he's knowing Gary's state of mind that he was in, and he said, what, you think I'm going to hurt or something? He said, I just know you're very passionate, and before you got a little rough, So he's hoping that Gary don't hurt her, Andy, like before. Anyway, then it switches over to Andy. She calls Fatima and informs her as to what she knows about Hayden having access to the federal database and has been watching the airport footage for hours. So she's like, if there's anything Zach did illegally to get that money, she should tell her. I think you should be calling Zach with that and not his girlfriend. I don't understand what Andy is thinking calling Fatima about that. And excuse me, everybody, but didn't Robin just leave that same day and said, don't tell a damn soul? And I'm like, I think Andy may be out of line for calling and telling Fatima what Robin told her not to, because she can't keep a damn secret. And if Zach tells her anything, I'm sure at some point it'll eventually get back to the girls. She'll tell them his personal business, especially if it was illegal. So, I don't know how I'm feeling about Andy right now, because I think she overstepped her bounds. She wasn't supposed to do that. But y'all can let me know how y'all feel in the comment section. Then the doorman calls up and tells Andy that Gary's down there, and she says to send him up. So when he gets up there, he doesn't want to sit on the couch where Robin was rocking Andy's world. Gary finds himself a bit uncomfortable up there, you know, and he keeps having these flashbacks of seeing Andy drinking with Robin and kissing Robin and having sex with Robin, and he starts freaking out, and then she asks him, you know, about getting him. He seems tense. You want a massage? And he's like, no, no, no. He don't want her to touch her. She don't want no drink. He gets up and starts talking about no, no, no. And he's pointing at the couch, and he takes off. And she's like, Gary, what's wrong? Where you going? but you see, Aaron told him. Aaron didn't think he could handle it, and he said something. So anyway, Aaron was right about that. Then it switches over to Jake showing up at Zach's house. He gets the check and tells Zach he knows it's weird that he comes around and is doing nice things for him. But he says sometimes there's people you meet and you just instantly connect to them. And you feel like brothers. And Zach said, obviously, brothers from different color mothers. He's so stupid. You know, he's so silly. They discuss Zach's money and wanting him to sell his stock. Then he asks Jake what he should do, and he said, give me $1 million to reinvest for you. And Zach is like, oh no, now you that type of brother? No, no, no. But you know, so Zach started saying, you know, if I give you that money and it has to do with Gary's business, if the company goes belly up, will I lose all of my money, right? And he's like, yeah, you know. Jake agreed, but then Jake said, look, I'll email you some information, and told him to let him know, you know, what he thinks about it. You can let me know what you think about it. And Jake told Zach that, you know, they can do a side deal and not have it under Gary's company. And Zach was cool with that because he said, I don't F with no Gary. And he said, Jake said, yeah, I understand that. And Zach looked at him like, what's that mean? You know something? And Jake says, no, I just been watching Gary. That's all I can say. And he said, what? With his money or something? He said, nah, Gary's on the up and up with that. But Jake did the right thing. He didn't tell Zach, because that's your boss. You work for him. That's your employer. You can't be saying that. He didn't change it, but he changed the conversation back to Zach's portfolio. And, you know, and Zach said, now you're acting like a cousin by deflecting. He said, you acting like a distant cousin, not wanting to share and deflecting, not telling him what he knows. But no, he did the right thing. And then it ended with, you know, Jake leaving and Zach's phone ringing. And it's this woman who wants to meet him at a hotel. And she said he helped her at the airport. He said, I helped a lot of people at the airport. Then she said, none who made you rich. Whoa. And that was that. I said, ooh, well, honey, that's how it ended, y'all. So y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. I thought it was, it was okay. It wasn't nothing like, ooh, wow, and all that. It wasn't all of that. And lastly, if you have not subscribed to my channel as of yet, please take that moment right now. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, and it'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Then smash that like button and write a comment and share. It's your girl, Barbie J, saying peace.